Now, I don't know if it has something to do with the pandemic or the fact that I gave myself a bad haircut, but the fact of the matter is I had a hard time coming up with Christmas cards this year. I even saw a couple of things on Instagram, ordered all the supplies, and now they're just sitting there collecting dust. Nothing seemed to be working. I'm going to talk about today some of my tried and true methods on how to take cards you're inspired by online and make them your own so that they are your own personal cards. So let's dive in. So when I'm looking for specific inspiration, one of the things that I'll do is I'll actually choose one of the stamp sets that I haven't used yet, one that's sitting in my new card stash. And what I'll do then is I'll do a simple either Google, Pinterest, or Instagram search for this particular stamp set, and sometimes I get really lucky and something pops up. So I really wanted to use this stamp set. I've had it for a little while now, and I love the fact that it's a grouped layering stamp set. So what that means is, first of all, each layer stamps all at the same time. So I'm actually stamping all these flowers at the same time and not individually, which is a great time saver. And all I have to do to line up this stamp is actually line up those squares and rectangles that are around the stamp set. And it allows for really easy layering, which means super realistic images without the frustration of having to line up each layer of the flowers myself. Anyone who owns layering stamps knows how much of a pain that can be. So I went on Instagram and I found this absolutely stunning card, but I wanted to change it a little bit to make it my own. That's the whole point of this video after all. So I decided to look at the blended background. I see that she used a dark blue or a purple, blue and pink, and so I decided to leave out the pink. I decided to simplify it a little bit more. I can also see that a cover plate was used, so a snowfall background, and I decided that I don't have something like that in my particular stash, so I'm just gonna leave it. You'll also notice that there are 3 poinsettias here, and I'm only going to use 2. And I've also done in purple and in blue, which are obviously different shades because we use different ink. And because she did a slimline card for this one, there's 3 flowers fit really well, whereas for myself, it's not really the case. So once I was finished blending my background, in order to get a little bit of a sky look or the snowfall that she had on there, I decided to grab some white paint and I flicked it on the background instead. In order to get myself a snowy background, I decided to actually go in and cut myself my own little snowbank. As far as how the card was arranged, I stuck to pretty much the same idea, but again, it didn't all fit in the same way because my card isn't a slimline card, but an A2 size card. And I also didn't add anything more to the clusters here, like additional stamp sets or anything. I just stuck to what I had. So once I was all finished layering everything out, I stuck everything down using some glue, and then I had this beautiful card that I think is different enough from what I saw in order to call it mine. My next crafty inspiration is from the amazing Mona, and her cards are absolutely stunning in this turquoisey green and red. Now I actually had this stamp set already, so I was able to kind of recreate this look, but this time of course I'm using my very own color palette. So I decided to stick with a purple color today. Some reason Christmas is screaming purple to me this year. And I absolutely love the way that the background turned out. And I can see on Mona's card, she used a lot of sequins, lots of golds, and then some tone-on-tone stamping to decorate the border around the outside. Rather than use die cuts or any sort of stamps, I decided to add some gold paste to get those gold elements on my card like Mona did. I'm not too sure what she used for her card design, but for me, glacier paste works really well. It's one of my favorite pastes because it dries pretty flat and it's so smooth and easy to apply. Now comes the fun big reveal of the background when you take your stencil off. It even requires slow motion, and I absolutely love the way that this turned out. All I needed to do was go in and add that Believe in the Magic of Christmas stamp, which I heat embossed using some gold embossing powder. I simply added it to some gold cardstock to make a frame and stuck it on my card, again to keep it a little different from Mona's design. Now when it comes to copying a card, don't think that you need to make it super similar or use the exact stamp set or anything like that. You could take certain elements and create your own design with them. For example, I was looking on Instagram, again for this stamp set, and I noticed this beautiful slimline card. But it might be a little hard to see here on YouTube, but it has this beautiful textured background. It was created by using cover dyes, and it's all white on white, so it keeps everything super clean and simple, but very, very elegant at the same time. And so I definitely wanted to keep that look. So I went ahead and die cut my element here, my beautiful branch, and I decided to stamp holiday wishes. Now, I didn't have coordinating cardstock to help make this pop on that white on white background, so I went ahead and swiped some ink across the cardstock here, and then I used that as a layering frame. So if you never have coordinating cardstock, that's a way to get yourself some. So I went ahead, ran that through my die cutting machine, as well as several of the cover plates, the ones I had in my stash anyway. There was no need to go ahead and order the exact ones that I saw. And you can see it creates this beautiful subtle background. It's really elegant, it keeps things clean and simple, but it also looks really professional in my opinion. So I just glued everything together, added this to my card, and it was all finished. Again, you probably would have never guessed that I was inspired by the card that I was inspired by. But as I said, you can grab really inspiration from anywhere, no matter how small it may be. For my next card, I was simply inspired by the idea of using black to create a Christmas card. I don't really think of black when it comes to Christmas cards, but black and gold is always a super elegant and stunning creation. So I went ahead and stamped this background stamp using some embossing ink, added some gold embossing powder, and melted the powder in order to make this beautiful background. You'll notice here that the card that I was inspired on uses also a shiny gold in the cardstock, and I think it's just absolutely stunning. I obviously changed this up quite a bit, but it definitely was an inspiration for me. I decided to add a happy holiday sentiment using the same gold embossing powder as you see here, and then I was finished with the card, and it took less than 5 minutes to make. Quick and easy cards for Christmas are always a saving grace. Okay, so my next card here, I was actually inspired by my very own creation. Last year I created a card very similar to this one actually, and I decided why not recreate it this year, but add something maybe a little more to it. So I went in and I added my Distress ink backgrounds to create a galaxy background. I always use the same general colors, a yellow, a pink, a purple, and then I start filling in the empty spaces with dark green and dark blue. Then I go over the whole background using some black oxide ink. If this is too fast for you, I have a little bit more of a slower tutorial on how to use this background that I'll link to below in the video description, and that way you can have a look at that if you want to recreate this background. So then I went ahead and added some paint splatters onto the background, which I think just really makes it that night sky and that sort of galaxy look to it. So now came the part where I thought I need to change it up just a little bit to make it a little bit different and maybe a little bit more complex. So I went in and I tried out my Spellbinders foil trimmer. I'm still playing with this before I can give a true opinion on it or not, but I absolutely love the fact that it, cuts my foil without scratching it and that I can really cut it down so I can avoid wasting any foil for that matter. I went ahead and I added my frame that I was going to foil. This is a Glimmer plate die. It's not a traditional die cut. I added it to my machine to get it all heated up, and then I hit the button. When it was all ready, I decided to add my foil here face down onto the die with the gold part facing down onto the die. And then all I need to do is just remove this piece of the Glimmer and apply some pressure on it. And I apply my pressure by running it through my die cutting machine slowly, 1 time forward and 1 time backwards, just to be on the safe side. And then when I lift it up, I have this absolutely gorgeous border around my card. I just love my Glimmer machine for Christmas cards. It just adds such a great elegance to the card and such subtlety. In order to finish off the card, I checked out this layering die. This is a Nativity star layering die, which I'm a big fan of. The only thing is a little bit on the intricate side, so it does require a bit of patience when gluing it, because mostly your connection points for each of the layers is that tiny circle in the center. I was able to add that onto the front of my card, and when it was finished, it looked absolutely fabulous and a little bit of a step up from last year. Although last year the sentiment was added at the bottom, I was able to just add it within the frame. So if by chance you happen to be searching for inspiration of your own and these cards just aren't doing it for you, no worries, I have an entire Christmas card playlist that you can check out spanning over 5 years and tons of tutorials. I've actually gone ahead and picked out the best ones for you, so be sure to check them out here. Thank you so much and enjoy your holiday card making.